Mr. Chan. Lay off Dan Randolph.
May I inquire, Lieutenant, if this is official police advice?
Press room. Mr. Chan, you accepted an assignment as a special investigator for the grand jury. You want to know what I can tell you about Dan Randolph? Okay. This is Stutz. Is Zach West there? Tell him to come in. Officially, Daniel Randolph is a prosperous and law-abiding citizen of this community. He's an attorney, specializing in criminal trial work.
And now, Lieutenant, unofficially.
I told you, Mr. Chan, lay off. Too dangerous a man to get involved with.
Yes, I believe Mr. Antonelli, Mr. Jarvis, and Mr. Bennett are proof of that.
What about them?
Each one of these men was arrested by you at various times during the past year.
They were?
Within 24 hours after each arrest, Mr. Randolph obtained their release. 12 hours later, each one of these men was shot to death by person or persons unknown.
So?
When a shepherd discovers 3 of his flock slaughtered, he usually looks for the wolf, Lieutenant.
And a hearty bravo to you, sir. Does the good lieutenant have any rebuttal?
Files are still open in all 3.
Even though the nasty wolf's known to all under the name of Dan Randolph.
This is Zach West. He covers the Valley Crime Beat for the Tribune. Zach's been running a one-man crusade against Randolph. If you want personal opinions, he can give you plenty of them.
And be glad to. Maybe you'd think that wife of mine would stay home once in a while.
Mr. Chan's on a special investigation for the grand jury. Target, Dan Randolph.
Here's a nice one-line biography of Randolph for free. He's a dirty louse who's behind every filthy racket in this town, including narcotics.
Stutz. Uh-huh. All right. We'll be right there. Woman just had some acid thrown in her eyes. They're bringing her to the receiving hospital. Care to tag along, Mr. Chan?
Yes, I would like to.
Zach, you live in the valley.
Yeah.
Address?
14143 Aldea. Why?
That woman. The ambulance picked her up at 14143 Aldea.
Now, everything's all right, darling. Everything's going to be all right.
Zach, my eyes. They hurt. Zach, turn on the lights, please. Turn on the lights.
Easy, honey, easy.
Oh, Zach, why did that man throw that stuff in my face? Why did he do it, Zach?
Talk to the eye specialist. Doubt she'll ever see again. Real tough.
Oh, it is a pity. Not even the sound of 1,000 children's voices can replace the sight of one smudge of dirt on a little rosy cheek.
Jennings came up with something, though. Little girl saw a man going to West's house.
Oh?
Gave us a fair description. I'm going to run through the stats office.
She's sleeping. That stuff they gave her. Why aren't you out picking him up?
Who?
Dan Randolph. He did that. You warned me yourself. Maybe not personally, but he did it.
Got any proof?
All right, I'll handle it myself.
Patience, Mr. West, is a man's best friend. The lieutenant is already tracking down a strange man seen in the neighborhood.
Have you got a description?
Partial.
Okay, I'll wait at Willie's.
Even the strongest tree needs support in a violent storm. I will see you later.
happened, Mr. West. It's a terrible thing. Terrible.
Yeah.
But you don't need to worry, Mr. West. Justice is eternal. The candle of the wicked will be put out.
Not for Dan Randolph, and won't be unless somebody puts it out.
The candle of the wicked, a quotation from the Bible.
Yes, sir. Proverbs 24:20. Say, I don't think we met.
Mr. Chan is trying to get something on Dan Randolph of the grand jury, Willie.
Well, I sure hope you get him, Mr. Chan. But if you don't, no man can escape punishment for his crimes, whether small or large.
You're living in a dream world, Willie. Get us some coffee.
Okay, Mr. West.
No avenging angel is going to strike Dan Randolph down, just like no miracle is going to give my wife her eyes back.
Got something for you. I came up with this one. Kid playing out in front of your house identified him. His name is Jack Hart. We got a pickup out on him now.
One of Dan Randolph's boys?
One of Dan Randolph's boys.
You'd better hang it on him, Stutz. Because if you don't, I will. Thanks, Willie.
Mr. Chan, shall we have a talk with Hart?
Yes, I think it would be advisable.
My name's Jack Hart. I live at 230 Clearfield Place. You've got nothing on me, and I've got nothing to say.
Come off it, Hart. We know you were there. We got an identifying witness.
My name's Jack Hart. I live at 230 Clearfield Place. You've got nothing on me, and I'm saying nothing until my lawyer's here with me.
All right, Hart. You play it that way, but you're going to get tired before I am. Now let's start at the beginning. Come in.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I dropped by for a friendly call. I find one of my clients here. Purely a social visit, I trust, Lieutenant.
You know better, Randolph.
Really? This must be Mr. Chan.
That is quite true, Mr. Randolph, but I'm surprised at your knowledge.
I am always interested in people who are interested in me, Mr. Chan. Have you booked my client yet, Lieutenant?
I've got 24 hours.
Then I shall come along with the writ, and you will have to release him.
You'll have to sweat for him, Randolph. Now get out of here before I have you thrown out.
One moment, please. Why not allow Mr. Hart to make the decision?
What?
Why not allow Mr. Hart to decide whether he wishes to stay here safely or to leave with Mr. Randolph and take his chances, like Mr. Antonelli, Mr. Jarvis, and Mr. Bennett?
What about Tony and the other jokers? What have they got to do with me?
Nothing. Well, are you going to book my client or not, Lieutenant?
I think I'll go along with Mr. Chan. Let him make the choice.
All right. Come along, Jack.
Wait a minute. What's your point?
Those other jokers were also clients of Mr. Randolph, also arrested by Lieutenant Stutz, and also released on writs.
So what?
Less than 12 hours afterwards, each one of them met with violent death.
You're trying to intimidate my client, Mr. Chan.
No, not at all, Mr. Randolph. I was merely pointing out a similarity of events and suggesting to Mr. Hart that a few years safely in prison might be preferable to an eternity in the grave.
We have enjoyed your little joke no end, Mr. Chan. But now we have other things to attend to. Come along, Jay. Lieutenant, I understand that the wife of Zach West met with a rather unfortunate accident.
Is that so?
I hope you will extend my heartfelt sympathies. I'll send flowers to the hospital.
Mr. Randolph, your gift is very generous. But may I suggest that Mrs. West might find more value in a book written in Braille?
Stutz let him get away with it again. My wife's in the hospital, blind, maybe for life. And Stutz let him get away with it.
A boulder of suspicion cannot stop an avalanche of justice, Mr. West. Lieutenant Stutz operates by the rules of the book.
Well, I've gone by those rules long enough. Now I'm going to make my own.
good what he's thinking, Mr. Chan. It's no good.
How was Zach?
He is a little lost himself, Lieutenant. He did not take too kindly to the information that Mr. Hart was released.
What'd you expect me to do, hold his hand? I warned him to lay off Randolph.
Lieutenant, you could no more prevent Mr. West from crusading against crime than to stop a fruit tree from dropping its leaves in the autumn.
Okay, I couldn't stop him. So what happens? His wife is blind. This department has more to do than to wet nurse a neurotic crime reporter. Anything else, Mr. Chan?
I just had a moment to drop in and find out if there was a further report on Mrs. West.
Doctor called. Said there might be a possibility of her regaining her eyesight with a corneal transplant. It's a costly operation, though. I don't know if Zach can afford it.
Lieutenant, he can hardly afford anything else. Lieutenant, perhaps you can satisfy my curiosity about something.
What's that?
When you arrested Mr. Hart, there was no call for his attorney. And still within a matter of 15 minutes, Mr. Randolph appeared.
All right, let's have it. What's on your mind?
I was merely wondering if someone with an intimate knowledge of such crimes could be working with Mr. Randolph and secretly informing him every time his clients were brought in.
Is that an implication against somebody in this department?
I was merely wondering, my dear Lieutenant. But if I have been unintentionally rude, please forgive me. Perhaps I should have gone to Mr. Randolph for the answer in the first place. Division. I wish to report a murder.
All skinned up. Why, Zach?
You had it coming.
Not from you.
Would you like to tell that to my wife?
You want to finish your coffee?
Willie? Thanks.
Okay, Mr. West.
One moment, please, gentlemen. Does not the police book state that a person being arrested is to be informed of the grounds?
There's no need to be picayunish, Mr. Chan. It's assault with intent to commit bodily harm. With a break, I'll only pull 30 days.
There's no 30 days for homicide, Zach.
I didn't hit him that hard.
Your bullets did.
It seems that Mr. Randolph was killed within the past few hours. He was shot to death.
Why me?
Motive? Opportunity? Prima facie evidence of assault?
Is that all of it?
That's enough.
Do you know something? You don't have any more on me than you had on Jack Hart.
It's enough to pull you in.
Well, sure. You don't have anything to worry about now. I don't have a Dan Randolph to get me off.
Let's go, Zach.
How about it, Stutz? Is there anybody else has the same influence with you Randolph had?
Let's go, Zach.
You think it's true, Mr. Chan?
When a tree is weighted down with the snows of adversity, Willie, who is there to say when the limb will break?
You know, Mr. Chan, you understand the meaning that lies in good books and the words of men. Mr. West's like that, too. That's why I like him. That's why I just... Mr. Chan, would you mind coming over here with me for just a moment?
No, not at all, Willie.
Mr. Chan, I don't know if you do things like this, but would you... Here, take it. There's maybe $400 or $500 there. Would you see what you can do about getting Mr. West off the hook? Would you do that for me?
Yes. Yes, I will.
I was hoping you would, Mr. Chan.
But there's one thing you must understand, Willie.
Sure, Mr. Chan, anything.
You must be willing to abide by my findings. Even if the guilty one is someone you don't want found out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why, that stupid, stubborn... wind up in the gas chamber with a story like that.
You have a better story, Lieutenant?
Yes. Let him admit he's guilty. Plead extenuating circumstances. He'll be out inside of 10 years.
10 years to an innocent man is like 10 lifetimes, Lieutenant.
It's not up to me to judge his innocence.
No, you are right. You are a policeman. You live by the rules of the book. And that is very good up to a certain point. But not when the book becomes more valuable than a human life. Tell me, Lieutenant, what did Dan Randolph ever do to you?
Is that a guess?
Only a fool enters the darkness of a bear's cave without at least the illumination of a tiny candle.
What was yours?
Your brother.
So you know about Joe.
He was your younger brother. He died in a street fight 1 year ago.
He was a junkie, Mr. Chan. On dope. The teenager so hooked by the habit that he'd commit murder to satisfy the monkey on his back.
One of Randolph's men introduced him to the habit?
Yes. One of Dan Randolph's men. It was one of Dan Randolph's men that killed him in that street fight. See this gun? Take a look at these. You see those empty chambers? That's against regulations. But you know why I keep them that way? Because after what happened to my kid brother, I went out to Randolph's house and I shot him. That's right, I shot him. Me, a peace officer sworn to uphold the law. And I went out to murder a man. I didn't kill him, Mr. Chan. It was a defective cartridge, misfired. But I keep those chambers empty in case I should ever forget myself again. Now you know why I live by the book. Why I don't deal in terms of human values. I can't trust him, Mr. Chan, because I can't trust myself. Ballistics. I recovered 2 .38 caliber steel jacketed bullets from Randolph's body.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant, but are not those the same type of bullets that are required in all police service revolvers?
They are.
And you carry the same kind of gun with 2 empty chambers.
An accusation, Mr. Chan?
No, I was merely trying to point out that you have no more actual evidence against Mr. West than there is against yourself.
Get me Haggerty. This is Stutz. Release Zachary West. Satisfied?
Only time will tell, Lieutenant, whether you are right or wrong.
Calling it a night?
No, not yet. If your records office will furnish me with the phone number of Mr. Hart, I will see what I can do to prevent his imminent departure from this world.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Chan. Chan. I was just getting ready to lock up.
I know it is very late, Willie, but might I prevail upon you for one last cup of your good coffee?
Oh, for you, Mr. Chan, sure. You're lucky I hadn't turned the coffee urn off and cleaned it out. I always hate to disappoint folks. I just don't like to... Hey, you shouldn't lock that door. The fire regulations say as long as our
Forget it,
customers
mister.
at the place... Yes, but I'm liable to get into all sorts of...
I said forget it. You phoned?
Oh, Willie, would you be so kind as to furnish my guest with a cup of your excellent brew?
Sure, Mr. Chan.
You know, I can highly recommend Willie's brew. It is sort of an exquisite blend of bean, roasting, and very careful preparation.
Forget the coffee. Go wash your dishes, Mac. Now, what was all that on the phone about Antonelli and the others and my getting gunned down?
Oh, that. Well, you see, Mr. Hart, Mr. Randolph is a businessman. He's very careful, very suspicious. So he made sure that Mr. Antonelli and those other jokers would never talk.
Randolph's been bumped off, so what have I got to worry about?
Oh, but Mr. Hart, the judge never wields the executioner's axe. For this, he hires a professional, a hatchet man. And even though you killed Mr. Randolph, his hatchet man is still alive.
You saying I bumped off Randolph?
Well, Mr. Hart, it would be a reasonable surmise to think that you realized your danger and to prevent it, you disposed of Mr. Randolph.
Are you trying to say, Mr. Chan, that this is the man that killed Randolph?
You know this hatchet man?
Yes, I believe I do.
Okay, who?
Well, you see, Mr. Randolph needed somebody whom no one would suspect. He also needed somebody in a position to inform him whenever one of his men was arrested.
Give me his name.
There is only one person who fits into that category like a rattlesnake fits into its skin. I am speaking of our host, Willie Bower. It is ironic, isn't it, gentlemen? You never met yet. You are both employed by the same man.
Both of them, Mr. Chan?
Yes, Lieutenant. And I think you will find that this is the gun that killed Mr. Randolph. Behind the counter is the weapon that disposed of Mr. Antonelli and the other jokers. Oh, Willie, knowing how fond you are of quotations, I am sure you remember the one that goes, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. This money, Willie, will go toward a corneal operation to restore sight to Mrs. West's eyes. So in truth, you are giving an eye for an eye.